Hey folks, welcome into the Thinking Crypto podcast, your home for cryptocurrency news and interviews. I'm your host, Tony Edward. On your way in, please hit that subscribe button as well as the thumbs up button and leave a comment below. If you're listening on a podcast platform such as Spotify or Apple, please be sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating. All right, folks, we got big updates around the Clarity Act that you need to know about. So, time is of the essence. We know next week we are expecting the Senate to vote on the bill. If it does get to that point, right? We're hoping that it does, and that they're able to pass it in time so that it can then go to the House to be passed. But I'm going to be interviewing Cody Carbone of the Digital Chamber tomorrow, so we'll get some updates and I'll publish that interview on Saturday morning. But here's what we have today. So Eleanor Turd is reporting that she's hearing from a couple of sources off the Hill that the latest ethics proposal brokered by Senator Tom Tillis, who's a Republican, and Senator Ruben Gallego, who's a Democrat, includes a role for state attorney generals. Remember, this was the second phase of the requests around ethics that the Democrats were asking for. They wanted ethics in place, but they wanted the state attorney generals to handle this. Now, I said I'm not really a big fan of that because it creates a hodgepodge of problems, but maybe they found a compromise, right? That's logical and reasonable. However, Eleanor says here we don't have the full package of details, so we don't know what that is, what provisions were put in there, and if it addresses the White House concerns. So let's wait to hear. I'm sure there's people on the Capitol Hill who are working through this. I'm hoping Cody Carbone, once again, tomorrow will be able to shine some light on the details. She says the White House is now reviewing the latest draft, which was sent over this morning. Separately, I'm told industry representatives spent much of yesterday making calls to the White House, making the case that reaching an ethics compromise is critical to getting the Clarity Act across the finish line. How the White House responds could go a long way toward determining whether the Senate moves forward with a vote on the bill next week. So hopefully by the end of tomorrow, folks, this compromise has been agreed upon by both sides, the White House and the Democrats. We know it's largely the Democrats, right? And they can say, let's get this bill voted on next week. Now, obviously, the major hurdle is, do we have enough votes? And my hope is, if the compromise is accepted by both sides, the Democrats who have given and shown their support will go ahead and vote for it. We are seeing that more and more support is coming out from not only Wall Street, but from law enforcement organizations. Here's another one. Another law enforcement group is putting its weight behind the latest draft of the Senate's crypto bill amid a tussle over illicit finance bogging down efforts to bring the measure to the floor. So the Major Cities Chief Association has sent their approval for this. So I can't even count how many we've seen so far. There's definitely more than five. And this is really great. This is what you want to see, that law enforcement backs the bill, because unlike the nonsense Elizabeth Warren and some of these crazy anti-crypto people have been saying that, oh, this is going to allow for more corruption and so forth. And it's like, hello, the industry is unregulated right now. We're trying to put legislation in place. Will it be perfect? Of course not, right? No bill is perfect, but you can continue to add and iterate over time. So we're seeing people just blatantly lie as though regulation is going to cause more. It's just stupid, right? But they're trying to stop crypto overall. They know that once you put regulation in place, it allows the industry to grow more. It allows more big players to come in and build because they will have the confidence to do that. But I'll get to Elizabeth Warren a bit later. Let's move ahead here. Now, Patrick Ritt weighed in on this endorsement, and he says the Clarity Act is a pro-law enforcement bill, but you don't have to take my word for it. You can take law enforcement's own. So he referenced the Major Cities Chiefs Association endorsing the bill. Now, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent came out with quite a long post, but a big support for the Clarity Act. And he talked about, last year, the House, they passed the FIT 21, and that was actually a year ago. So they were able to get it done. So he says there's been progress since. Thousands of hours of bipartisan negotiations took place at the staff and member levels. The Senate committees on banking and agriculture advanced their respective titles, and Senate Republicans produce a floor-ready product that, as I type this, is waiting for a vote. He says it's disappointing but not surprising that Senate Democrats are choosing politics on the cusp of a major victory for American leadership. find another instance in history where Congress, when given the choice, opted to push an industry out of the United States rather than smartly regulated. American exceptionalism was once a bipartisan goal. If clarity fails, I have serious doubts. Now he continues. It's a pretty long thread here, so I can't read through all of it. But he says, the Senate needs to vote now on this landmark legislation. And he says, America will lead or America won't. It's not more complicated than that. I believe Satoshi once said it best. If you don't believe me or don't get it, I don't have time to try to convince you. Sorry. So he addressed a lot of the FUD that's being put out there by certain Democrats, like Elizabeth Warren, right? Now, I know there are some sensible Democrats, like Senator Angela Alsobrooks, who was key, played a pivotal role in getting the bill out of the banking committee. She worked with Tim Scott and worked on the stablecoin yield compromise for the banks. And I think she's going to continue to hold her ground there. But, we got to find this compromise. We got to get it agreed upon by both sides. And, fingers crossed that this thing can get voted on and passed next week. Now, we were speaking of Elizabeth Warren earlier. She was giving a speech, and of course, she brought up crypto, and she's criticizing the industry. Oh, they're spending more than $200 million in the primary election campaigns, and they're on target to spend more. It's very valuable to the crypto industry to own a senator or two. They run negative ads. So she's trying to paint crypto as the boogeyman and that we are an election industry or a political industry. And I tweeted out about this, and I'm like, Elizabeth Warren is full of you know what, guys, because the only reason crypto is involved in politics is because of Elizabeth Warren. She's the one that launched the all out anti crypto attack on the crypto industry under the Biden administration with Gary Gensler and her other cronies and the other agencies. Crypto had nothing to do with politics. Crypto was not talking about politics. Nobody was involved in politics. We were just building. It was an industry, and we know what Gensler was up to. He was taking his questions and answers from Elizabeth Warren for those hearings. They were colluding together. They, of course, attacked the industry unlawfully. They lost in court. They allowed FTX, Celsius, all these things to happen, right? Gensler knew what was going on, but he's like, I'm going to leave it because it's going to collapse and it's going to hurt the industry. And then I'm going to go after good actors and file, BS lawsuits, right? So that was what was going on. But, Warren, of course, is just lying, flat out lying, just out there like, oh, yeah, crypto, they're trying to spend a whole bunch of money in politics and influence. Yeah, we wouldn't have to do that if you weren't lying and unlawfully attacking the industry. But we know why she's doing it. Why this grandma is so upset about crypto is because she's getting those big fat checks from the likes of Jamie Dimon and the banks. That's been confirmed, guys, right? We've seen them collude together in hearings and much more. But was she asked about the banks and all the criminal activity they've done over the years and all the fines they've had to pay? Of course not. She's going to bring that up, right? Just, oh, crypto's the boogeyman. That's the end goal. So she's on the attack. And, I mentioned the other day that Ben McKenzie, the actor who played in the OC and Gotham and so forth, he's buddies with Elizabeth Warren. So I'm sure he's on our payroll. And he's out there pushing and promoting his anti-crypto book and much more. So these guys are fighting. So we got to make sure we fight back, guys. So make sure you call up your senators and your representatives, and you continue to use social media to your advantage as well. Now, something that's not related directly to crypto or the Clarity Act, but it involves Elizabeth Warren, is pretty incredible. So yesterday, she tweeted out, Donald Trump is right about this. Eliminate the debt limit. Its only real function is to threaten an economic crisis. I'm ready to work with both Democratic and Republican senators to immediately scrap the debt ceiling and protect the economy. Guys, what have I been telling you for years? They will never stop printing. Nothing stops the money printing. This is the fiat system. And that's why under both Democrats and Republicans, the debt continues to rise higher. And this is where you have to protect yourself. Don't get too blinded by politics. We vote. Yes, we care about our issues. But both parties, there are certain things they agree upon. And this is it. Keep printing. And what does that do to your cash in the bank? It devalues it. You lose the purchasing power. So you have to dollar cost average, you have to diversify into assets. So whether that's crypto, stocks, real estate, precious metals, and more, right? I think that thesis is 100% correct. Smarter people than me, people who've been in markets for a long time have been saying this. And there are still people who don't understand what's happening, right, to their money. So that's why I try to emphasize this. And even if you're not holding crypto, right, because I'm not trying to say, oh, you must only hold crypto. No, I'm diversified. I have exposure to stocks. I have a real estate investment property. I have investments in gold as well. So this is where, guys, you gotta understand the game. And look, these politicians, they take advantage of the system. We know they insider trade, right? And they make millions while your money is just getting debased. So some people get so caught up with politics. And again, I'm not saying politics is not important. We're talking about it, right? But keep a balance that you have to protect yourself as well and your earnings and your money because no politician's coming to save you. I hope you know that. You can only put so much faith and trust. Don't go all the way out because you're gonna get disappointed. But I digress. I hope you see what's happening here. What Elizabeth Warren of all people is saying. She's telling you what they're gonna do. And if look, the debt ceiling limit thing, that's fugazi. It's fake. It's an imaginary line. They continue to raise it. They play the politics game. They will continue to raise it. This is the fiat system, and they will continue to print long after you and I are gone. Because unless they go back to a gold standard and fix some of the things that have been going on or the inherent problem with fiat currencies, there's no stopping this thing. So you got to make sure you diversify into assets. And of course, that's why we are focused on crypto. I believe still the fastest horse in the race because it's still very early, still getting or in the process of getting legislation. And I believe it has the higher upside than the other asset classes, even though those other asset classes are great to hold. Again, I believe in diversification. So something to think about, because we're on the topic of Elizabeth Warren here. And folks, a great place where you can invest in crypto and precious metals like gold, silver, and platinum is on iTrustCapital. They allow you to invest in these asset classes via an IRA. And the reason for investing via an IRA is to get the tax advantages. So when you sell for a gain within the IRA, you don't have to pay long-term or short-term capital gains taxes. So you can get that huge tax advantage and benefit. And you can buy and sell crypto, precious metals like gold and silver and platinum 24/7. It's low cost and there's no monthly fee. They are in the process of adding stocks as well. So you can get, again, diversification in your portfolio. And if you have an existing 401k or IRA, you can roll it over to iTrustCapital's version. They also offer a great custody solution called Premium Custody Accounts, which uses Coinbase Prime. So it's using institutional grade crypto custody, which BlackRock uses. And you can go in and out 24/7. It's low fees, closed loop system. So if anyone hacks into your account, they can't withdraw anything. It's only set up to withdraw to your bank account. So this is a great option. You can sleep at night knowing your assets are safe. And the gold and silver product, it is physical gold and silver. You can redeem it if you want. It's not paper gold or silver. And on their crypto side, they have over 100 digital assets, stablecoins, staking, everything is on there, guys, even new tokens. So you got to check them out. If you use my link to sign up, you can get a $100 funding bonus. And if you want to speak to an iTrustCapital representative to answer any questions you may have, check out Ryan. His contact information will be in the description. He's my rep at iTrustCapital, so you can talk to him and you got questions like, hey, what happens if I do this? Whatever, he'll answer everything you need. So you can talk to someone. You don't have to do it all by yourself. And again, get a $100 funding bonus if you sign up with my link. So go to itrustcapital.com/go/thinkingcrypto. Link will be in the description. All right, folks, something you definitely need to be aware of. IRS warns crypto holders, fraudsters sending fake letters in an attempt to steal digital assets or data. This is per Bloomberg. So if you get a letter in the mail or even an email from the IRS, double check it. In fact, triple check it, guys. I always say, don't trust, verify. So just be careful. Make sure that you are able to validate this in different ways. The agency said scammers are mailing counterfeit letters to some crypto holders in an effort to steal their digital assets or data. Letters may direct taxpayers to register for a fake digital asset compliance portal, which does not exist. So double check the URLs, double check everything. Even give the IRS a call. You know what I mean? Or go to the official IRS website, irs.gov, and just you can maybe create an account and go in there and see. They usually have a digital version of what they send you in the mail. So just double check. Don't go to any site or weird website that's on the letter, and then they ask you to do stuff. So just be careful out there, guys, and avoid scanning QR codes or taking calls from people who are seeking payment. So very, very important. Just be careful. I don't want you guys to lose your crypto off of a scam like this. And this is a strong one, right? Because they're pretending to be the government. So hopefully the IRS and the government can find these scammers and shut them down. So be careful out there, folks. All right, we got some updates here about tokenization. So global banks test tokenized money for cross-border payments in a $1 million BIS pilot. So BIS is the Bank of International Settlements. That's like the king of the banks, right? It sits at the top of the hill and communicates with all the banks around the world. So 28 banks, including JP Morgan, Citi, and UBS, move real money across borders in a live test of blockchain-based settlement. Send this news to a crypto skeptic or a blockchain skeptic so they understand what is happening. Guys, I hope you see that we're headed to that token economy. The capital markets, the governments, and the economy is running on blockchain rails. All the banks, all the stock exchanges, all the major investment firms and payment companies are getting involved. So the pilot used tokenized central bank reserves and commercial bank deposits to settle corporate interbank payments per rand foreign exchange settlements. The payments settled in an average of about 80 seconds, even though the prototype was not directly integrated with banks' existing payment infrastructure, the BIS reported. So the technology is here for them to do this. Certainly competition is heating up with the stablecoin market, so they're trying to compete, of course. So the project fits into a broader shift as stablecoins and tokenized assets gain traction across global finance. Asset managers have begun issuing tokenized money market and private credit funds, while stablecoins are increasingly being used for cross-border payments and corporate treasury operations. So, guys, I hope you see the direction the puck is heading in here. It's pretty clear. Now, speaking of tokenization, Ondo Finance weighs acquisition worth up to $500 million. The tokenized assets firm is considering an acquisition valued at $250 to $500 million as consolidation accelerates across crypto infrastructure. So the New York-based company is considering wealth tech targets among other subsectors, said the person who spoke on condition of anonymity because the matter is private. Ondo has not yet appointed any formal advisors, the person said. Founded in 2021 by former Goldman Sachs executives, Ondo Finance is a tokenization platform that brings traditional financial assets on chain. The company issues tokenized US treasuries and stocks and has become one of the largest providers of tokenized real-world assets with more than $3.5 billion across its products. Here's a quote: "As a fast-growing company, Ondo regularly evaluates the market as part of normal business operations. We are not in conversations with any party at this time," Ondo representatives said to CoinDesk. But, in a bear market, this is the time to look to acquire companies at lower valuations, some that may be struggling, and you can build out your arsenal, right, your infrastructure. But Ondo's been getting a lot of adoption. I hold the Ondo token in my portfolio. Obviously, there was some sad news months ago where the founder, Nathan Allman, passed away. But obviously, the company continues to move forward. But they've been getting incredible adoption. So a lot of big TradFi firms are building on Ondo. Now, Samsung Unit explores stablecoin infrastructure with Upbit's operator. So you have tech giants getting involved. We know Sony's involved. They've got their own blockchain. Samsung is getting involved. I can't wait till we hear the news of Apple as well. So Samsung SDS, the IT services arm of Samsung Group, is exploring stablecoin infrastructure, digital asset systems, and AI-based payment models with Dunamu, the operator of Upbit, one of the biggest local cryptocurrency exchanges. Samsung SDS said it is discussing potential cooperation with Dunamu on stablecoin infrastructure, digital assets systems, and AI-based payment business models. CEO Lee Jun-hee said during the company's second quarter earnings call on Thursday. So, guys, everybody sees where things are going and they're all putting together some sort of strategy around digital assets and blockchain. So you're going to continue to see more and more of this news, especially as legislation is rolled out. So this is where things like the Clarity Act is so important, right? The building is happening, and we want a lot of the building to happen here in the United States to create jobs and much more because we're in a global competition. All right, final news item. Bhutan's Jilefu, if I'm saying that right, taps 3IQ to manage part of their Bitcoin treasury. So 3IQ will manage an undisclosed portion of Jilefu Mindfulness City's Bitcoin treasury as Bhutan develops a digital asset investment hub. Now we know the Kingdom of Bhutan, they've been mining Bitcoin, they have a Bitcoin treasury, they've been doing a lot. And 3IQ is a Canadian digital asset manager. I remember interviewing one of the folks from there years ago, and great to see that they selected them to manage their Bitcoin treasury. So in December 2025, Bhutan announced that up to 10,000 Bitcoin from the country's national holdings would be allocated to support the GMC. So it looks like this management is the next phase of what they're trying to do with possibly lending of Bitcoin, yield generation strategies, and much more. But, so again, it's not just the United States here. This is happening across the globe, many different countries and jurisdictions participating. So incredible stuff, guys. I'm excited for the future of this asset class. As always, you got to be patient. You got to have that macro view, right? It takes time for things to be built out. It takes time for legislation to be passed. And we're going to get there. And the valuations of the blockchains and their native coins are going to increase. Now, will everything be a winner? Of course not, right? There's going to be blockchains that are going to die and not be on the coin market capitalist, and they're going to be, the winners. So this is where you want to continue to monitor which ones are getting adoption. When you're taking a position in the market, make sure you're not buying into pumps. You're buying when there's blood on the streets, when people are fearful, right? You want to look at and study the market cycles. You want to look at what the governments are doing with the money printing and all of that, because that impacts the assets, of course. Anyway, guys, that's the news. Let me know what you think. Leave your thoughts and comments below. Hit the thumbs up button. Subscribe if you haven't as yet. Be sure to support the podcast by subscribing to my free email newsletter on Substack. Link will be in the description. Check out my book on Amazon. It's available in paperback and digital. And check out my course at mycryptocourse.com. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you all, and I'll talk to you all later.